Hello all, my name is Piotr and I build Ru guitars. So today I will be tackling the neck pickup cavity, and also I need to figure out the way to integrate the spoke wheel adjustment, which will be located outside of the neck into the body. So I need to cut it in. I've got the adjustments, it's all measured up, and yeah, just need to cut it really. But I need to create a template for the neck pickup because it's a P90 frame for the mini humbucker, and yes, I decided to go with the P90 frame because I think it looks better, and also I think it will be more useful to have a P90 which you can swap for the proper P90 pickup then. But what's important is that P90s have different shapes, unfortunately. And because there is no pick guard, the pickup will sit in the wood. I want to cut it in as close as I can to the actual shape of the pickup. So I will be creating a template for this pickup, which is fun, and yeah, that way I can do it very precisely and fit it in very nicely. So I think we'll start with that, and I hope I'll get to cutting the fretboard as well. What I need to do for the fretboard is cut the taper in just a bit so that I can route it flush with the neck later. At the moment it's just square, and also I need to cut the overhang at the back, taking the spoke wheel adjuster, the spoke wheel adjuster into consideration. So it needs to be longer by the thickness of the spoke wheel, but minus the binding, because that fretboard will be bound and I need to measure it correctly before I cut, obviously. Right, let's get to it. I will be cutting the template into this piece of MDF, and I'm going to use this very frame to mark it. But before I do that, I need to have a center line. We've got the flat edge here on this side. I'm going to use that to reference everything off. Why do I need a center line for just a pickup? Because I will be lining up the template with the center line of the body, which we know is correct, and correct with the neck. And that way, when I place the pickup in, the whole pieces will align, well, should align with strings. So that should be easy. Let's see, I'll align with 90 mil. And I'll do 45 off the flat edge. And this will be my center line. There we go. I can then, I'm using it upside down because those screw holes here will help me align it with the center line perfectly. And I can draw around it. Of course the pickup cover is tapered and it's wider on the bottom than it is on top, so I'm going to have to open it up. But to start with, this is the shape that I can go with, and I have to find the center of it now. So it's 42¾ of a mil, and this is the center. And that's the measurement I need to align the pickup with the center line of the body. There you go. I will be cutting this out on the scroll saw, and I will also use the scroll saw to cut the taper of the neck while I'm at it. I need to drill a hole in this shape to pass the knife through and cut around it. Now that I have a hole, I can undo the blade, pass it through the hole, reattach it. I already checked if the table is square, and it is. Now with the tension, I can easily go around the inside of the shape to cut it out. Okay, so that's the shape cut out, roughly of course. I was trying to get as close as I was comfortable with the line, but I will be filing it all very precisely with the actual pickup for the perfect fit. And while the saw is set up, I'll do the fretboard as well. So the fretboard is rectangular now. These two sides are parallel, and I need to cut the taper. You can see it here marked with a pencil for the router bit not to struggle as much. So I've got these two things cut. I will quickly check the fretboard against the neck. The scroll saw is not very precise at best, but if you go slow, you can close to the line and not go over it, which is what I've been trying to do. Although, as I said, this thread will be bound, so 1.5 mil on either side will be taken anyways. But yeah, this is pretty good. Much less material for the router bit to deal with. And the overhang I will cut by hand because I need it nice and straight. I have a big saw that I can use for that, but I'll be later. I need to refine this shape to fit the P90 cover. And because it was cut on the scroll saw, it's all, wobbly. I'll use files to work on it. I think this should do. I've got the Iwasaki files, which are really good. These are for Crimson. They leave really nice surface. So I changed my mind. I will not be shaping a template by hand because I don't think I will get it as precise as I would like to. Keeping straight lines on surface like this, well, it's difficult for me. I'm not sure if it's for everyone, but it's difficult for me. And since I have MDF with flat edge, I can build a template based on the actual size of the frame on the body and route it out based on just MDF template. So I'll do that instead, and I will use the 12mm router bit. I think that the radius is slightly bit tighter on the pickup frame, but I can always file it in later when it's routed, just to fit perfectly, and that'll be so much easier than doing template. Let's get the body here and build the template. What I need to do is to mark where exactly the pickup will be, and part of that measurement will be distance from the neck pocket. Right, so this is where the spoke wheel will be, and that's the actual distance. So I want to have the pickup cavity starting right next to the spoke wheel, so that there is no gap between the two. So that's where the fretboard will end as well, right against the pickup, which is how Gibson does it. Fender tends to leave space between the neck and the neck pickup, but I think it will look nice in here when they're just next to each other. But this is the line. So this is the right side of the pickup, if you will. There. On the left side, I will mark it like this, and then I'll measure it correctly as well, just to make sure. Yes, 35.5 exactly. Beautiful. So these are the long sides of the pickup, and now I need to place it on the center line correctly. And to do that, I will just measure it. Forty-three and a half. 43.5 is here, and this side. So I've got both measurements. I'll check it if it's square. And yes, it is. Beautiful. So that's the pickup. And I measured the bottom. As I mentioned, it's tapered and it's thinner on top than the bottom. So I measured the bottom so it all fits in. And when I pop the actual pickup on it, well, that seems perfect. It will also have a shielding paint in, so I have to account for that. What I want to do is to get rid of this. There you go, much better. I may create a template that will have this spoke wheel opening cut into it, and I will route it out while doing the pickup cavity, or I could cut it with a saw later. I'll try to route it out. So the spoke wheel size is, well, I need a 20 mil opening, 10 on either side, so 20 in total. Yeah, so the pickup will be routed out, the pickup cavity will be routed out, and there will be an opening to the neck pocket, just like you would have on a vintage telly, which has a crossrod adjuster from this hex key, but on the heel you also have this cut out here in the neck pocket. Okay, now I need to build a template around it. So got a flat edge here, I can use that as a flat side. I also have this piece with flat edge that I can use for the flat side. But as I said, I want to route this out as well while I'm at it. So I'm going to chop this template up. I'm going to use a handsaw because it will be just quicker. I need to cut side blocks, which don't need to be the same size. They need to be roughly what this is. And that is 32 mil. But they need a flat surface. So I need to cut something like 30 mil. So that will be 1. 30 mil, that will be 2. And these will sit here. And then I'll cut this in half to have the gap of 20 mil. Okay, so what I want to do now is to start building the template. I've got all pieces here. I've got the side pieces which don't have to be tied against this side because the router bit does not reach to the bare corner. And I have these pieces here which I will build around this gap, so that I have the 20 mil gap in the middle that will fit the spoke wheel adjuster. Perfect. To build it all, of course, I'll use masking tape and super glue. I'll try this masking tape. It's slightly thicker than the one that I used. There's a chance it will not soak up the super glue as much. Let's try it. And this goes right on the line. This needs to be very straight, otherwise the picker will be crooked. Okay, I'll do these sides next. This is also very important. We need the 20 mil gap for the spoke wheel. I'm not happy with this, but I'm happy with the masking tape. So what I'm missing here is a reference line. Now with the longer reference line I can actually position correctly, and that looks great. Now those side pieces will be on the short sides. Still have to be straight so that the short side is not crooked, so yeah. Great. let's prepare the router. So I was just trying to calculate the depth of the pickup cavity. It's not like I can just Google it because that's a non-standard pickup, but it seems like the pickup has a thickness of roughly 25 mil. So 25 millimeters. We've got strings that are about 10 mil off the body. So 25 mil, it will stick out like, I don't know, 5 mil maybe. So it needs adjustment. I think 30 millimeters will do. However, I have those screws that I want to use, and the screws are 35. Okay, so that should work. Yeah, 5 mil. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go with 30 mil depth for the pickup cavity. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this truss rod adjuster because the neck pocket is only 19 mil deep. So the pickup cavity will go beyond the neck pocket. And this adjuster doesn't have to go that deep. So I may need to put some block of wood here later when the neck pocket reaches, when the pickup cavity reaches the neck pocket depth, so that I don't really go into the neck pocket by accident. I want to make it as shallow as I can, so that it cuts cleanly. It does right on the template, but just on the top portion of it, which is okay. These surfaces are not damaged. I should be fine. I will not be pressing hard against the surface, and that leaves me about 6 mil to cut. Very important lesson there. The vacuum works much better when it's turned on. So here's the first pass on the neck pocket. Yeah, looks good. I suspect these corners to be greater radius than the pickup itself, so they will have to be adjusted later. Actually, that fits very well. Yeah. Okay, well, surprisingly well. So I'm going to drop the router bit as far as I'm comfortable, and then I'm going to have to get a longer one. Yeah, that should be fine. It's still riding on the template. It's just sticking out at the bottom a tiny bit. Perfect. Second pass, and surprise, surprise, we're through to the channel, the wire channel. There you go, there's the channel. And we are not yet at the bottom of the neck pocket. We need to swap the router bit for a longer one. This one is absolutely dead. Okay, very nice. Very nice little ledge between the neck pocket and the pickup cavity. You can probably see that ledge here that I mentioned. This is where the neck pocket ends, and this is the pickup cavity now. What I can do now, I can glue these in place. I'll just file it down a bit. I can glue them in place. They will act as a template. Let's get this sorted. Okay, I can glue these to here, and that should give me the edge there for the bearing to ride. Seems like an overkill, but there is no pick guard, so everything is visible where the pickup is, all around the pickup, except for the place where it meets the neck pocket. Yes, that is great. I will glue this surface to this surface, and that will be enough to hold it in place. I'm going to use a lot of glue actually to make sure that it is held in place securely. There won't be much pressure against it, it's just, you know, better safe than sorry. Of course, no accelerator, so I have to hold it in place for a while. That is now nice and straight, and the bearing can go over it nicely and cut deeper. I have to be careful now not to ride the bearing on the wood, because I've got the wires channel there in the corner. So again, if the bearing was to drop below the level of the top, so if I was riding this bit, riding the bearing on top, I could cut deeper, fine. But if the bearing went in, I could damage the top easily, because those router bits have this collar here to hold the bearing in place, and it's got a set screw there sticking out just a tiny bit. So if that was spinning really fast and the bearing was below the surface of the top, that screw would be cutting into the wood. Well, that's as far as the router goes. And yeah, it rides on the bottom of the template. So we're 21 mils. This is great. Okay, I may need to get the longest rope, the longest router bit that I have. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. 25, okay. And it still fits the pickup very nicely, which is great, I love it. But I think I need to go deeper than that. So when it's dropped to the bottom of the cavity, I'm still riding on the template, but when I drop it by 5 mil, I may actually go onto riding on the top. That'll be fine, because the top is 6 mil thick, and I should be fine. Yes, so that's what I was talking about with the danger of slipping off the template with this router bit. So as you can see, there is a set screw here. As you may be able to see, there's a set screw here. And if I was to slip off the template and go into the channel here with the bearing, that set screw would have been chewing into the template because it's sticking out a bit, and that would just distort everything. I think I'll be fine now. I'll drop it when it's turning. "31, spot on." That is great. 31 millimeters. If I miscalculated anything and I can't get those screws to work, I can always get longer screws, that's not a problem. But I would rather not have to set up the router and try to do it precisely again based on I don't know what. Let's take these off. Okay, let's see this with the pickup. Very nice. That fits very nicely. And that radius is spot on. Slightly wider, but because the entire cavity is wider in both directions, it actually matches, which is great. Now this. Okay, so there's tiny gap on both sides of the spoke wheel, on the next side and on the pickup side. Perfect, I'm very happy. I think that will do for today. I have achieved a lot actually with this. I'm very happy with the result. I will leave the fretboard for the next time, which will be in a few weeks, well, 2 or 3 weeks, because it's a summer holiday time and we're going away for a couple of weeks. So I will not be posting anything new. Also, it's getting ridiculously hot in here. I've got the fan working overtime, but there's no aircon in the garage, so you can imagine if it's 40 degrees outside, it's also 40 degrees inside, and that's just not feasible. So I'll leave it for now. Yeah, I've got some preparation to do for cutting this. I need to make sure that I have everything measured properly and decide what I actually want to do with it. So yeah, thank you for watching, thank you for sticking around, and I will see you in a few weeks. Thank you. Love you, bye.